Good morning, everybody. This is Stacy Turner with our DMOpro Zoom. I'm so glad that you are joining us, and I hope that this morning brings value to your business as much as it does to mine. I was just saying how much I really enjoy these Monday mornings with all of you and learning from you guys. And really, as I'm coming up with, okay, what am I going to speak about? What do I want to share with them? It's usually something that has happened or transpired within my own business dealings, because I think a lot of times if you go with coaching with people, outside of our business, they're usually out, they're no longer doing active business with their network marketing company, and they're just moved to coaching. So I think there's some advantage to working with us because I'm in the trenches with you, if you will. Like, I'm actively bringing on new team and new customers, and I'm doing the events just like you are. So there's things that I've kind of learned through the years that I don't even recognize that I do, that newer team kind of points out to me. And one of those instances is at a trade show booth. So this week we did a trade show. It was like a craft fair, but it's called a Business Blossom. This lady organizes it. It's in this big building, and you reserve a table, and then you can talk to people as they come by. And actually, I'm like a vendor booth, I guess I should say. And I am a product of that. That's how I first heard about this product and company, was 20 years ago at a trade show. And there was a lot of great follow-up, but there was, on the part of the person who shared with me, she was very persistent and lovingly, shared that with me. But and Gwen is saying from her too, she and I met at a trade show. So it can be a great way to, just be out in the community and start conversations, but you can also waste a lot of time at one of those. And so I just thought I would kind of share some of the questions that I've learned through the years. And I'm going to give these to you guys. I'm going to go through them fairly quickly, so I don't want you to feel like you have to write all of them down. I've already got them in my phone, so I'll put them into the Voxer chat, so you guys will have those. But there's just some things that I've learned along the way to bring conversations to the point where it's actually a productive conversation. So there's things that you can ask as they come by to draw them in. But honestly, these are same questions that I use a lot of times one-on-one with people, or at an event like a health event, or if we're doing a coffee chat. And the whole point of these questions is to get to the point where you're speaking to what that person wants to know. Okay, so I want you to think about that. If we're speaking to things that we think are interesting and things that we have learned, it doesn't mean anything to them if it's not something that they want. And it's not going to resonate with them if it doesn't apply to them. So how am I going to know this perfect stranger that walks by? How do I know what they're looking for? How do I know what applies to them, or what their interest is, if I don't start asking questions? So if I just start presenting Juice Plus, whether from the front of the room, if I'm going to be the speaker at an event, I'm trying to think like, who are the people at this event? Are they distributors? Are they prospects? Are they customers? Who's my audience, and what is it that they're looking for? And I really want you to think about that in those conversations. Who's your audience? Who is it? If it's an audience of one, if it's an audience of five, whatever it is, what's important to that person right now. So let's even speak to what events you could be doing right now. We're talking, most of us are Juice Plus reps. There may be people on here from different companies. When we're looking at nutrition, how does it apply right now to something someone may be dealing with? If in the winter, when we were doing health talks, I said, we would be sharing tips to stay well this winter. That was really important to people, staying well, especially mamas with littles. Like, how do I stay well, much less, help them get well? And so staying well in the winter. Right now, allergies in the spring is a big deal. So you could do an event. It's the same one simple change. You're just going to expound some on the immune system, because allergies are an immune issue. So you could just say, how to, prevent and heal from allergies, or how to address allergies through nutrition, whatever you want to come up with. But how do you, thinking about the summer coming up, nobody wants to be sick going on vacation, right? So can you do an event in the spring that's kind of talking about, preserving your health, or, protecting your summer vacation from somebody being sick, or, something along that line. You're trying to think maybe broadly, what is it that somebody would be interested in at this moment? But in the conversation, let's say at a trade show, and they're just walking up to me, they're walking up to my table. First of all, you've got to kind of have something as they're walking by. How do you catch their attention? Because there's a lot of noise, like there was music playing, there were a lot of booths. People are leery about, walking up to a table and getting sold something. I am, if it's something I'm not really interested in, like I don't make eye contact with the person who's at, behind the table, and you're just like, you don't see me, you just walk on and you're like, oh, look over here. And you just like keep walking. So you can tell if someone's not engaging with you and eye contact, they don't want to talk to you. They're not interested. I don't want to try to talk them into something, right? But there's sometimes they just don't even know what this is. How do they know that they're not interested if they don't even know what it is? So I've found a couple of things. Don't sit at a chair, because if you're sitting, it's very easy for them to just walk by and not make contact. And you can smile at them. Most people are not just going to walk up to the table. You're going to have to engage them to pull them in, which is true with any conversation. It doesn't matter. Like most people aren't just going to have a health conversation just like out of the blue with you. You kind of have to ask questions to draw them into that conversation. And you're kind of leading it that way, with intention of getting to know them and where they're at right then. So two things I have said is we have gummies out on a plate with a toothpick, and I will just say, would you like to try a gummy? And they're like, what? Like a gummy? What are you talking about? And so then I was like, would you like to try one? And so they're like, well, what is it? Okay, so now, I've got their attention. They're at least coming over, handing it to them. And then I can briefly say, what Juice Plus is. It's fruits and veggies in a capsule and in a gummy. Okay, so that's one. So I've just handed that to them, and we're going to come back to that. The other question I ask as they walk by is, if they're kind of looking at our table or our display or something, I'll just say, hey, have you ever heard of Juice Plus before? And they'll say, what? They still say the same thing, what? And they'll come over, if they want to, or they're like, no, that's okay. If they say no, just say, no problem. Have a great day, smile, and move on. Like that fish doesn't want to take, they're not hungry. They don't want it. And so move along to the next person. I don't want somebody at the table that I'm going to spend 10, 15 minutes trying to draw them into a conversation they don't want to be in. And I have 5 people that would have been receptive to my message, but I was occupied trying to convince someone that they needed something they didn't want, right? Like that's just a waste of your time. So you're trying to kind of just see who's interested and who's not. The more you do those type events, the more you're going to find repeat people that come by and they're like, oh yeah, I talked to you, oh yeah, I came by last time. Or if it's local, it's helpful because you're going to see people that people that you go to church with, people that are parents of kids, in your kids' class, parents that are from sports, and you see them in the bleachers at games, and you're just going to see people that you're around, and just that sort of being in the same community is going to be helpful to start conversations too. Like, hey, how are the kids going? How are the kids doing? That was a great game last week. You can engage in a conversation with them if you know them that will probably draw them over. Then once they're there, they're like, yeah, I've seen your stuff on Facebook. I know that you do this. What is this exactly? And so they may ask you, into, a little bit more, or you can just start asking some questions to them. So it's the same thing in a lot of ways. Like I said, if you're doing a booth at a trade show, or if you're, just trying to draw somebody into a conversation. So here's some things that I came up with just really quick this morning, just drinking coffee. These are some questions to kind of keep conversations flowing. Okay. So, I'm going to go with the idea is we're trying to ask questions that get to the answer of this. What is most important to you? So what is most important to that person that you're talking to? If I'm not addressing that, I'm just noise. I'm in their mind. I'm a resounding gong. Like we want to be productive in that conversation. So if I in the back of my mind I'm thinking what's most important to them, and then I can address that, you're kind of tossing out some things, like fruits and veggies in a capsule, that sort of thing. But I'm trying to get to that point. What's most important to them? Because their why is what's going to drive that purchase. It's not the what, fruits and vegetables. It's not the how, Juice Plus, fruits and veggies in a capsule. It's the why to them. It's not your why, it's their why. What's most important to them? So a very general question I will ask people is, what are you doing to support yourself nutritionally right now? Right now could mean lunchtime. It could mean in the spring. It could mean in 2022 or 23. What year are we even in? It could mean a lot of different things in their season of life. They just had a new baby, or they're pregnant, or they're dealing with a very serious health issue. They're going through cancer treatment. It could be a myriad of things just in their busyness of life. What are you doing to support yourself nutritionally right now? Another great one is, especially at a health show or like a trade show like we did, I was asking them, do you have any health concerns you're wanting to address? So again, before I'm going to start presenting all the great things that Juice Plus does, I can go through all of the research, but what's most important to them? I can talk an hour about research, but all they really wanted to know was, does it get absorbed into your body? Is it bioavailable? Like that was what was most important to them. But I spent, 30 minutes on nutrigenomics and epigenetics and the DNA study. And they were like, yeah, I wasn't interested in that. Right. So, do you have any health concerns that you're wanting to address right now? Or are there any health concerns that you're wanting to avoid? Family history that you're concerned about, something that you don't want to be an issue for you and your family. What areas of your health are of most concern to you right now? Kind of the same question. What areas of your health are the most concern to you right now? Now, that area of health, not necessarily like a health issue, could be, we're just super busy. We're eating, on the run. We're just going through the drive-through all the time. It could be, my little guy is so picky. He won't eat any fruits and veggies. I'm just really concerned with him. So it may not be necessarily their health that they're concerned about, but it could be somebody else in their family. Kind of just some even broader questions. What are you looking to achieve? What would you like to see happen with your health? Why do you want to work on this? Again, like what's important to them? Dig, a little bit deeper with them. You can ask one question, then just go right into presenting, or you can ask one question and then lean into that conversation. Give them your time, your time and your real attention, like to feel heard and be heard. That is a huge bridge from you to their heart and their mind, because most of the time people don't take the time to ask questions and listen. They're just busy on to the next thing. And that's sort of what you think of when you don't want to be a salesperson, you don't want to be pushy. That's a really easy way not to be a salesperson, or, what people think of that or pushy, is to lean into the conversation and really let somebody feel heard and give them your time and attention. Now, be careful, because sometimes you'll find people that are so wrapped up in their illness and that's all they identify with. That is who they are. That's all they know to talk about. It's what their whole life revolves around. And they will suck you into a very deep conversation that you're just like, I could be here for another hour listening to this person's health issues. And it never gets to a point where you're actually able to give advice or you're able to offer the product. So you're still steering that conversation. And some of you are smiling because people like that. I mean, there are people that we will talk to. They don't want their health to get better because they will lose the identity of who they have become with that. And it's sad, and it's very difficult to get somebody away from that mindset. We can offer hope, just keep inviting them to things, you never know. But you can also those type of people can very quickly overrun every single conversation. Every event that you come to, it's all about them. They spin it back to themselves, and they'll just spend so much time talking. And so we want to be careful. That's not us, right? That's not attractive. It's not going to bring people into your circle of influence if you're only talking about yourself. Asking questions gets you talking about other people. And you'll notice a person like that never asks you how your health is doing or what you've been up to. It's always revolving around them. So if we want to not be like that, then our heart needs to be first, let's ask questions. Let's dig in, let's lean in and really hear what this person is saying. So what made you say yes to coming by today? If I'm at a table or coming to an event, why did you come tonight? Why did you stop by? And again, especially at the beginning of the presentation, if I can quickly go around the room and just tell me, you have to say that you're in control of that conversation and you're going to direct it. So if I, at the beginning of a health event, I say, tell me why you guys are here. Like, why'd you come? You could have done anything tonight, but something brought you here. Something drew you in. Is there a health issue you're concerned with? Somebody in your family, something you're wanting to avoid, a health, concern that you're wanting to work on? What brought you here? Just very quickly, tell me what comes to your mind. And then I'm directing it where it goes to. If someone's going off track and they're way off, I say, you know what, that's a great thing. We're going to come back to that. Okay. I'm going to come back to you. And then I move on to the next person. I'm still going to be in charge of the conversation, if you will. I'm directing the flow of that. And we can't spend 30 minutes on this person's health issue, or we're never going to get to the presentation. And that person overruns and takes control of that conversation. You still have to be in charge and you're directing it. So just say, you know what, that's a great point. I'm going to come back to that. We're going to address that in a minute. But as I'm listening to what they're saying, then I know what to make sure I bring up in the research side of our program. That slide that has all of our research studies, I'm going to be able to know which ones to personally address. Like, you mentioned allergies. I think the immune system studies are really going to make sense to you. And then I can address that into that conversation. So I saw them, I wanted to know, I heard them, and then I bring them information that actually matters to them. Now we're talking a smaller group, like 10 people or less. What is it that your body's trying to tell you? Just ask that question and then get quiet. Especially if someone's talking about their aches and pains, what is it that your body's trying to tell you? And then let them think. And they're going to say something probably like, that I need to make some changes. So now that's their idea. You didn't tell them, you better stop drinking that diet soda, and you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you need to stop eating so much fried zucchini. People don't want to be told what to do, but they do like to choose to be a part of something. So how can you engage them into the conversation where they feel that this is their idea? The better you can get at that with pretty much anything in life. If you've got toddlers, somehow you got to make them think that the pink bowl is the one that they would have chosen anyway, or, whatever it is, teenagers, your spouse, people don't like to be told what to do. Can you help them feel like they're part of the conversation? Tap is laughing at that one. I think she resonates with it. So, what questions can you ask that's going to bring that back? So again, what do you think your body's trying to tell you? What are you frustrated with? What do you feel like you're doing right? What do you feel like you're doing right? Let's say somebody says, oh, we eat really healthy. Okay, lean into that. What do you guys do? How do you eat 7 to 9 servings of fruits and veggies every day? How do you get your kids to eat 7 to 9? How do you get your husband to eat 13 servings of fruits and veggies every day? That's kind of a little bit combative because they know they don't eat that. And sometimes they're like, oh, well, we don't eat that many fruits and vegetables, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, maybe we're not doing so good as like, you have to eat that many, like that's a lot. And then exactly, that's to prevent disease. You can continue on in that conversation. What resources are you looking for? Do they want healthy recipes? Do they want a community to be a part of, right? Like if someone's really looking for resources, yeah, that's someone perfect to invite to our team because we've got a lot of resources for them. Basically, again, what do you want? Another question is, what got you to the place you're at right now? Trying to get them to take some ownership of the decisions they're making. Well, I drink, 12-pack of soda every day. I smoke. I drank a lot in my 20s and 30s, some sort of ownership to the place that they're at. And then that ownership is going to be transferred to the ownership of making better choices. And you're going to help give them tools and resources to do that. So what got you to the place that you're at right now? This was one. Okay, if you're talking to somebody, they've got all the answers. They already know that. They've already done that. They eat healthy. They don't have any health issues. Maybe that they're asking about a competitor product. Oh, I already take XYZ. I already take this vitamin. I already take Balance of Nature. Whatever it is that they say. I exercise a lot. So somebody who's kind of dismissing, like, oh, I'm fine. I don't need you. If somebody says, let's just go to the competitor product. I will ask them, and I had this happen with a guy. He said, what's the difference between Juice Plus and Balance of Nature? Now, guys, I can tell you that list. I know the difference, but does it matter what I know, or does it matter what's important to him? So I can address a whole bunch of things that are different, but if that doesn't apply to him, then I'm just spending a lot of time trying to talk him out of one product and into mine. It's just not going to go well. It's going to take a lot longer, right? So I said, that's a great question. So that's an excellent one to keep the conversation going. That's a great question. I say that to my kids all the time. It kind of gives me a chance to pause, like it gives a little space in the conversation to where like, okay, what is the answer? What am I going to say here? But that's a great question. And then I'll say, you know what, let's start with this. Why did you choose to buy Balance of Nature? Like what appealed to you about that? What made sense to you? And so then he gave his list of things, which he said, I like the way that they grow their own produce. I like the way that they mark, how they produce the product. I like that it was clean ingredients. And so then I knew what he valued, and then I could speak to the strong points within Juice Plus about those things, right? And so I said, okay, from what you're telling me, quality is really important to you. The quality of that produce, that's really important to you. Am I right? And I mean, is that what you're telling me? And he was like, yeah, that is what I'm saying. So I'm reiterating what he told me. And then I said, okay, let me share with you what I know about Juice Plus and how they make their product. I know the commercial says that on TV about Balance of Nature, but I don't know their true process. So I went into NSF certification. Our products is grown, specifically for us, that they harvest at peak ripeness, and then it's into a capsule. I spoke all about the quality points and the proof of that quality, touched on the research, just kind of some of those journals, like that it's actually bioavailable. That would be important because if it's not quality, then it's not going to get into our body. And we don't want to put quality, not good produce into our bodies because you're not going to get results. If you're getting good results in the studies, then that means the quality of the produce has to be really strong. Okay, so that's what I'm speaking to him, to the quality of it. And at the end, he said, I wonder if I could send that back. And I said, yeah. I said, I don't know. If you had Juice Plus and you were unhappy with it, you would be able to call the company and they would pay to ship it back. So I'm hoping that Balance of Nature would have that same, assurance, but, I'm not sure, but I would definitely just call and ask them if you can, and send it back if they'll give you a refund. And he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I just want to get a refund and then I want to get started on Juice Plus. And so I was like, excellent. We got his information, invited him to the next event. And, I think that I kind of turned him around from that. So that's one example from this conversation. These are just some statements that I have found to keep the conversation flowing and to keep someone from feeling defensive, to keep their mind and their heart open. And that helps them feel like you're not telling them what to do, or you're trying to teach them, or somehow your knowledge is more important than their knowledge, or that they're doing something wrong. Nobody wants to think that they're doing something wrong, right? So again, saying, great question, or tell me more about that. I have had some of the most bizarre conversations where in my mind, I'm like, are you insane? Did you really just say that? Like, how could you even come up with that? And not necessarily like in nutrition or health wise. Sometimes you're like, where did that come from? But I'm just talking like everyday life, conversations with someone on the airplane. Like I could tell you some very interesting conversations. I just say, tell me more about that. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? Where did you learn about that? I can see your point. Even if I don't agree with it, I can say, you know what, I can see your point on that. Or I haven't thought of it that way. How did you come to that conclusion? I didn't necessarily say you're wrong. I just hadn't thought about it. That's a very interesting way to look at that. Very interesting. Tell me more about that. Saying exactly, and then just go on with the point that you're wanting to make, even if it really doesn't connect with their point, but you agreed with them, and then they're more receptive to about what you're going to say after you say the words exactly, or you're right. Let's just say somebody says, oh, I already take a lot of vitamins. I take vitamins. And then I'll say, I can say, oh no, vitamins aren't good for you. You should be eating whole foods, right? That's just not going to go well in the conversation. I've just stopped. I've just kind of offended them. To some point, I've told them they're wrong. So if they're like, oh, I already take vitamins, I can ask them, what made you choose that? What vitamins do you take? And then why did you choose that? So get them thinking, answer on their own. But you could also say, you're right. A lot of people recognize if they're not eating enough fruits and vegetables. And so they tend to rely on a vitamin to bridge that gap. Is that why you chose to take vitamins? Because you weren't eating and, you knew you weren't getting the nutrition you needed from food. So I said, you're right. People love to hear that. I like to hear that. That's such a great point. A lot of people take vitamins every day and they hope that what they're taking is going to, be able to piece together what their body needs. Or that is so true. Or you are so smart. That's another great one. You're so smart. Most people know that they're not getting enough nutrients from the food they eat. And so they tend to rely on a vitamin. They know they've got to bridge the gap somehow. You knew your body was missing nutrients and you needed more than what you were able to eat. If you could get those nutrients from a food source, would that be of interest to you? Okay, so I totally took that whole conversation and switched it around from maybe a negative point of a dismissal or an objection, and I moved it into leaning in, asking a question that's going to keep that conversation flowing. So I hope those questions were helpful to you guys. I did not mean to spend the whole 30 minutes of me just talking on those points, but let's just for a couple minutes, let's open that up to discussion. Is there another question, or is there a situation you've been in where you're like, the conversation just fell and you kind of didn't know what else to say, that maybe one of these questions will help with? And I know I went through them quickly, so I'm going to give them to you guys on Voxer so that you have them, and maybe I can even put them in our app in a way that you guys can access later. So I will stop talking. You guys share with me. Does anyone have anything to add?
Well, it's a little stretch from what we've been talking about, but how do you get people from whatever point, whether it's an event or some kind of a trade show or whatever, how do you get them to the point where they are willing to get on a three-way call? That is something I really find challenging.
So it's definitely not going to be your first interaction or even your second one. So it would have to get to a point where they need information that you don't have. So, that's a lot of conversations, or they're going to need some encouragement from a way that you're not able to. So really, there's no reason I can think of, honestly, that you're going to need to bring somebody into a three-way conversation to, share Juice Plus with them. I just don't find that really works well. An event is the social proof of everyone around you, but a video is going to do just the same education without the hesitation of a three-way call to present or share the basic information. So first, you're having a conversation. Think about the sales cycle that we've talked about before. You're having a conversation, you're asking good questions, and then you're going to offer them a resource to learn more. You don't want to be the presenter. You're asking if they would like to either watch a video or come to an event. And then from there, it's through the follow-up. If they start asking questions that you don't know how to answer, or you're just kind of unsure of you're like, I don't feel like this conversation is going as well as I would want it to. Like if you're really new, then you just say, you know what, I'm new at this. I've only been doing this a couple of months or, a year or whatever it is. I would like to get you on the phone with my friend. Don't say upline. Don't say sponsor. That's just going to turn them away, because that means, oh, you want me to join the business. That's not what we're asking them. Of course, we would love them to. But if you say those words, sponsor, business partner, just say a friend. My friend that has been doing this longer, I want to make sure that you get the answers that you need. And then, is it okay if we get her on the phone with us? And if now is not a good time, then set up another time. Three-way calls are going to be a harder point of education. It just is. An event has the same effect, and especially in-person event, because like that social proof of everyone else. And if you're, a sponsor can do that, even if your sponsor is somewhere else and they're zoomed in and they do that presentation, then that's third-party validation to you. But I'm not trying to get everyone to get on a three-way call. Those are for three-way calls are to the point they've watched videos, they have an education, about the product or about the business, but you need some social proof or encouragement from that sponsor above you. They're just at a stronger place in the business, or just because they've been there longer, whatever that is, and you can bring them in to answer questions. They get to see sort of the community and the support that we have. But I don't know, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
One thing that I have, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
No, you go.
One thing that I have been working on is building relationships with people. And I am trying very hard in my community and the people around me that when I start talking to people about Juice Plus, first and foremost, I'm trying to meet their needs as a person. I have no idea what some people are thinking when I'm talking to them about nutrition. But what I'm finding is when I focus on building a relationship with them and not going into it thinking, okay, I'm just waiting to share my Juice Plus with them. But when I'm focusing on just let me listen to what your needs are, and then I introduce Juice Plus and do it in a way that is non-threatening, oh, it goes so much better. And this has taken me years to learn, years and years to learn, but it makes it so much better when I just listen and I'm building a relationship. Then we talk about Juice Plus.
Such a good point. I mean, if we don't have a connection with them, and like at a booth, you don't have much time, right? So you can't build a relationship with them at the booth when they've got 5 minutes to talk to you or they're just walking by. But you can build rapport. So there's a difference between relationship and rapport. Relationship it takes time, just like Paula said, where you're really asking questions, you're looking for the need, you've got time to ask them to go to lunch or for, coffee, or to really sit with them. Relationship is built through how much time we have spent with someone, how much we're around them. That's a big part of it. With somebody that's a quick conversation, rapport is everything. These questions can help build rapport. Find connecting points. What do you have the same in life to where you can say, oh, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same situation. How can you connect with that? That's rapport, which is going to help build the bridge to the relationship over time. And it's going to help them be more open to listening to whatever it is you have to say. So that's such a great point, Paula. Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
When you were talking about don't sit in a chair behind the table, what we've done in the past is we get the like lawn chairs, but they're bar stool height. And especially when we take a tower garden and then we have a Juice Plus display too, those chairs, because you can stand for a very long time, but if you've got that bar stool that you can kind of halfway sit on or even sit on, and people come by, you're right there next to your tower garden. It in the past has been very helpful for us to connect with people. Like they say, oh, she's not interested, but we are, because we're sitting right there in front of you.
Yeah, I love that. You're eye level with them still, but you're right. Standing at a booth all day can be exhausting. I know just a couple of hours there, I was with my team and I was like, oh, that's so many conversations that we had. It was good, but you're right. So a higher stool would keep you eye level with them. I think that's a great point. Anyone else?
Stacy, I have a quick question. I think it was Paula who was talking, but like, I totally respect that part about building the relationship and understand that. There's this fine line between, if you don't really know these people, like I meet a lot of people either hiking or skiing or walking the dog. And like yesterday, for example, the girl said, we were talking and we were getting ready to leave, and I asked her what she did, and then she said, so what do you do? And so I told her what I did. I said, I'm an occupational therapist, you know, and I am in the health and wellness industry, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, and I said, so I really love what you're talking about with the research, because we are, you know, I find we really respect research and think that's really important, blah, blah, blah. So she said, I don't know how we got talking about it, but she said, oh, because I said nutrition. And so she said, oh yeah, I worry about, you know, I'm 42, menopause, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, I have listened to a really, I listened to a woman who's Mitra Ray, basically. I just told about her quickly and said, are you interested in maybe watching the video that she spoke on? She's like, yeah, that would be really good. And I said, are you open to me giving you a ring Monday at 5:15 just to see what your thoughts were and if you have any questions? And so she said yes, but sometimes I'm like, is that too fast? So I just looking for someone else's perspective on, is that too quick? Or
I mean, you could always say, you know, I'd like to swing back around. You know, I'd like to continue this conversation. That's probably the word I would use. I'd love to continue this conversation and see what you get out of that. I mean, it made sense to me, but I'd like to hear what you think about it.
Oh, okay, I like that. Okay.
So then, you know, when is a good time that we could chat again? You know, I'd like to know a little bit more about XYZ, maybe something that they had already shared with you. So then you could, you know, make an appointment, or I'll text you in a couple days to see when we could chat again. And it may not be in a conversation that you have with them on the phone. It could just be through texting that they share what it is, you know, that they liked about the video, what stood out to them. And then you can swing it back to Juice Plus. Like, what did you think about what they were talking about the nutritional side? I know these capsules have been super helpful for me. Is that something that makes sense to you too? So again, I'm asking sort of for their opinion on it. So it's a continuation of the conversation. And I think I've mentioned this before, if the contacts that you're having are super cold market, like it seems like a lot of yours are, Lisa, you're going to have to just be super patient with that process. You know, that does, like, you can have rapport in a quick conversation, but then do they really see your heart is for them and not for the product? And that's harder when you don't know them and you're not going to see them again. So asking if, are they on Facebook or on Instagram, whichever one you're on, that's going to give you a connection that you can go back to. And then they're going to see different posts that you have. So that's one of the ways that social media is really helpful. I had a gal that stopped by the booth and she said, she walked right to me. I shared Juice Plus with her 4 years ago. Like, she still knows that I've done this. We see each other every once in a while. It's not always Juice Plus, right? Like, she knows what I do. She wasn't open and receptive and ready for that. She saw me, instantly walked to me, and she's like, I've been thinking about you, Stacy. I really need to do this. And there was the conversation, like the timing was right for her. And so when you're talking cold market to people, the majority of them that came by, I just know it's going to be a longer follow-up process with them. I can't expect the same results that I could when I'm, seeing this person often in my life. But through social media, you can see them more often, or they can see you more often. So I hate to do this. Let me just end this recording so that it's not too long and people won't watch it again. But I'll stay on for a few more minutes. But I do have a call. Actually, I'm supposed to be on an NMD Zoom, so I better hop off with you guys.